Good morning and welcome to Thursday's maths lesson. So we have been doing our statistics lessons this week. First 3 lessons were all about the mean. We are now going to look at pie charts, which is why we have a picture of a pie. So let's get started then. A big part of statistics is graphs, charts, tables, and representing data in different ways. So as you can see on the notice board in front of you, there's 3 different ways of showing the same information. So you can see on the top, on the left, is a circle. That is a pie chart. Simply called a pie chart because pies can be circular. And rather than calling it a circle chart, they've been a little bit more adventurous and called it a pie chart. Underneath that, you can just see a table that's got a tally system. So 5, you put the little kind of gate across it and then carry on for the next 5. And on the right, we've got a bar chart, or a bar graph, you might hear it called, where it shows all of the data for cooking, painting, swimming, and the beach. So if we look at these 3 charts, graphs and tables, I'm just going to ask us a little bit of information to start us off so that we are confident with reading this information. So first of all, always read the label. So it says this is the total votes for activity week. So it could be that the children were asked what they would like to do for activity week. It might be that they were asked, what did you do during activity week? What's your favourite activity in activity week? Doesn't really matter, but some kind of story always helps us to make sense of this information. So I want you to look at the little chart, the little table at the bottom. How many people voted for swimming? Answer is 3. Now let's have a look at the bar chart on the right. How many people voted for painting? So you go across to painting, up, and then across the y-axis, and it would be 6. Now let's look at the pie chart. How many people voted for cooking? And we can see that it says 2 votes underneath it, and we've got 2 sections of the pie chart. If you look at the pie chart again, how many people voted for the beach? And that's 10 people voted for the beach, and there's 10 segments coloured in. Brilliant. Right then, so the little speech bubble at the bottom says, we will only do an activity if more than half have voted for it. So they will only do an activity if more than half the people voted for it. Now, my first question is this. Which chart shows the most clearly whether an activity received more than half the votes? So which one, a pie chart, a table, or a bar chart, which one shows the most clearly if an activity had received half the votes? Well, I personally think that the pie chart would show you the most clearly whether it had received half the votes or not. So a pie chart is split into segments to show how each part fits into the whole, and the whole circle represents all of the results. So as you can see from the bottom picture of the pie chart shows the most clearly that no activity received more than half the votes. And we can see that really clearly on the pie chart because if it had received more than half the votes, more than half of the circle would have been coloured in. And we can see from the pie chart that the yellow bit, the beach, does not fill half of the pie chart. The red, the blue and the white definitely don't fill half the pie chart, so there was no activity that received more than half the votes. Question B then is, what do you think the advantages and disadvantages of each way of presenting results are? What do you think is an advantage of a pie chart? What's a disadvantage? What's an advantage of a table? What's a disadvantage? And what's advantages and disadvantages of a bar chart? So each one of these charts shows the same information, but you can see different things from it more easily and different things are harder to work out. So if we start with the tally chart or the table, you can fill it in while you're collecting the data. So if you're scoring something, it's very easy to do it as a tally chart. It's easy to draw and it's easy to see in groups of 5. However, disadvantages, when you want to compare them, you can't see it visually very easily. You've got to count it. It also doesn't show the whole. It doesn't show out how many it was out of. So if we look at the tally chart and we want to know whether more than one activity had more than half the votes, it's very hard to see from that because you don't know what the total was, so you can't easily see whether one activity had scored half the marks or not. Bar chart then. Bar charts are really easy to compare which is the most and which is the least. Just by looking at it, you can see the beach had the most votes and cooking had the lowest amount of votes because it's very visual. You can also use the scale to work out the difference between swimming and painting, the beach and swimming. However, same as a tally chart, it doesn't show the whole clearly. So that's not a useful chart to work out whether you can see more than half the votes or not. Pie chart then. Pie charts is very easy to compare the parts with the whole, and that's why we're going to be looking at pie charts. You know what the whole is, you can work out the parts, you can see whether an activity's got half the votes or a quarter of the votes very easily. It's very visual. Disadvantages though not always easy, to compare the parts. Sometimes might be a bit tricky, and it's quite tricky to draw. So a bar chart and a tally chart can be quite easy to draw. A pie chart can be quite difficult because you're working in a circle. Right, on to the think together. So this think together, number 1 says, which section of the pie chart represents each activity? And we've got a tally chart, a pie chart and a bar chart, and they all show the same information. And we can see that because for a tally chart, cricket says 3. On the bar chart, the cricket's halfway between 5 and 0, which would be 3. So if we look at the tally chart and the bar chart, we need to use that information to help us work out which section's which on the pie chart. So pause the video, have a go. Well, hopefully you found this nice and easy, partly because the pie chart has got the correct numbers in the pie chart for you. Now, pie charts don't always have the numbers in, which when it gets a little bit trickier, but for this one, it's put the numbers in of the amount of people that voted for that sport, so it's made it quite easy. So the swimming would be the 2, the smallest section of the pie chart, and if you look on the bar chart, you can see that swimming is the smallest. Looking at the bar chart, I can see that cricket is the next biggest. Looking at the tally chart, I can see that's 3. So that would be the 3 on the pie chart, so it's the next biggest section. Looking on the bar chart, I can see the next largest section would be cycling. I check this with the tally chart. Cycling is 8, so the pie chart, yep, that would be that biggest section there because it's 8. And then the last one would be football because that's the biggest section, that's got the most votes, and it had 14 votes. Lovely. So number 2, below are 3 charts showing the medals that the British team won at the Olympic Games in 2016. Choose a chart to answer each question. So you've got the 3 charts in front of you, but I want you to start thinking about which chart is the best one to answer that question. Which one makes it the easiest? Thinking about the advantages and disadvantages we've already looked at, which one's the easiest to use? So A says, how many more gold medals than silver medals did the team win? So the chart that's probably best for showing a difference and for comparing data, finding more or less than questions, would be the bar chart. So I look on the bar chart, gold medals, they'd won in between 25 and 30. So that would be about 27 medals. Silver medals was 23 because it's right in the middle. So if I just take those away, the difference would be 4. Question B. Which colour medal was approximately a quarter of the total? So which chart helps you work this out? Which one helps you show a quarter? Well, for this one, I would choose the pie chart. Pie charts are very visual and very easy to see parts of the whole. So if you want to show half or quarter or even an eighth, the pie chart is probably the best one to go for. So which one shows a quarter? Well, think about a circle cut into 4. It would be the blue section, which is the bronze medals. The bronze medals were approximately a quarter. They're not exactly a quarter, but approximately a quarter. C, how many medals were won in total? So for this one, I would use the tally chart because you can add these up really easily. If the pie chart's labelled, you could also just add the numbers up in the pie chart. But like I said earlier, a pie chart will not always have the numbers labelled in it. Lovely. Okay then, we don't always do the challenge, but I think today we can definitely have a go at it. So Max spins a spinner, which you can see on the right hand side, 30 times and records the results in a tally chart, which you can see on the left hand side. So how many times did he get a cat? That would be 14. How many times did he get the bird? That would be 11. And how many times did he get the fish? 5. So look at the bottom then. Which pie chart most closely matches the results? So is it A, B, C, or D? And I want you to try and explain why it wouldn't be the other ones. Well, if I look at A tells me that half of the spins were the fish, a quarter of the spins were the bird, and a quarter of the spins were the cat. Now, I could work these out mathematically, but I can also just look at the numbers. So I'm saying with A that the fish was the one that had the most spins. It was the highest frequency. Was that the case from the table? No, when I look at the tally chart, fish was the lowest frequency. It didn't have half of the spins. So A, definitely not right. Then I look at B. B is trying to tell me that each one, the bird, the fish and the cat, were all span an equal amount. Each one was a third of the spins. So if there was 30 spins altogether, a third of those, the bird would be 10, the fish would be 10, and the cat would be 10 because they're all equal parts. Well, I look at the tally chart, that's not right either. So definitely not B. Then I look at C. So C has got the cat as the largest section, then the bird, and then the fish is the smallest section. Well, I'm looking at the frequencies, and that definitely makes sense. I know altogether there was 30 spins, and I know that 14 of those were the cat. Well, 30 and 14. 14 is nearly half of 30. 15 is half, but 14 is just under half. So the cat should be just under half of the pie chart, which it is. And then the bird should be the next biggest and the fish should be the smallest. The fish should be about a sixth of the pie chart because 5 is a sixth of 30. So yeah, at the minute, C is looking right to me. Then I look at D. D shows me that the cat was the one that the spinner landed on nearly all of the time, nearly 100% of the time. And the fish and the bird were quite similar and they were a very, very small percentage. Well, when I look at the results, I can see that's not right because the bird was spun 11 times and the cat was 14th. There wasn't actually that much difference between them. So I would say that C was the pie chart that matches that tally chart. Well done if you got that right. It's practice book time. So we are going for page 99. Page 99 in your practice book. So if you haven't got your practice book, don't worry. These questions are on Dojo and Google Classroom. Hopefully you'll find today nice and easy. It's lots of talking it through. It's lots of very visual working out rather than kind of number crunching. It's a lot of very visual understanding about charts and pie charts. So these 3 pie charts show 3 after school clubs. Got Club A, Club B and Club C. In which club do more than half the children play football? Right, well, to first of all work this out, we need to look at what the key is at the bottom. So the key is telling us that the grey is football, the spotty is tennis, and the white is the reading club. So in which club do more than half the children play football? Which pie chart shows more than half as football? Well, the answer would be C. Because C shows that the grey is football, and that's a lot more than half the pie chart is coloured in grey. If you look at A, it's just under half. Very, very close. It's just under half. And B, it would be a third. Right, I'm going to ask us a few more questions about this. I think this is quite a nice question. So, in Club C, did the children play more football or more tennis? Hopefully you can tell me it's tennis. What about Club A? Did the children choose to play football more or tennis? Well, in Club A, it would also be football because that section, that part, of the football part is bigger than the tennis part. In Club B, did children prefer football, tennis or reading? Well, actually, in this club, These are all in third. These are all in equal parts. So there's an equal amount of children at reading, an equal amount of children at tennis, and an equal amount of children at football. Lovely. Right, let's go on to the next one. Also, having just had another look at this, you could argue that Club A actually is exactly half. Now I'm looking at it, and the question said, in which club do more than half the children play football, which is why it would be C, because A is exactly half, B is less than a half, and C is more than a half. Right, question 2. Children in a class did a survey to find out which jobs they wanted to do when they were older, which is interesting because it's what we were doing last week with Careers Week. So you need to tick the table at the bottom to show whether a statement is true or false. Less than half the children wanted to be a pop star. Less than half. The least popular job was a vet, and more children wanted to be a sports person than a teacher. So, answer time then. Less than half wants to be a pop star. Well, I can see that that is true because it's just under half the circle is coloured in light, well, very light grey for a pop star. So that would be true. The least popular job was a vet. This is false because the teacher part is smaller than the vet part. And the last one, more children want to be a sports person than a teacher, is true because the part that shows who wants to be a sports person is much larger than the section that shows who wanted to be a teacher. Well done if you got those right. Number 3, match the pie charts to the correct team's set of results. Pause video, have a go. So, we are looking first of all at Team A. They've won 15, they've lost 10, and they've drawn 5. So if I find out the total altogether, the total is 30. So the whole circle is worth 30. The win then is 15 out of 30, which is the same as a half. So the win should be half of the pie chart. Lose should also be more than the draw section, the segment. So which one of those pie charts shows the win is half of the pie chart and the lose is a bigger section than the draw section? Well, I think that would be the B, if you like, the second one. So Team A would go to the second one. Right, if we look at Team B then, again, their whole is also 30, and this time the draw is 15 out of 30, which is the same as a half. So this time I'm looking for a pie chart which shows the amount of draws as half of the circle, and then it shows losers more than wins. So which pie chart would that be? That would be the last one on the right. Team C then, they won 10, lost 10, drew 10. So for this one then, I'm looking for a pie chart that's got equal parts because they are all equal. So that one's the one straight underneath, which means Team D should match up with the first pie chart. So let's check it. They won 15 and they drew 15 and they didn't lose any. Wow, that's a good team. So they should have no section that shows losers, and it should be half win and half draw, which is exactly what the first pie chart shows us. Super. Right, question number 4 then. This tally chart shows the favourite subjects of children in one class. Shade in the sections in the pie chart and complete the key based on the information in the tally chart. Right, have a go. Okay then, here is my answer, my interpretation. So I first of all started off by seeing that maths was the largest one. Most children said that maths was their favourite. So that is the biggest section on the pie chart, which I have done in green. Then I noticed that science was the least favourite, and there was the least number of children had said science. That was going to be the smallest section, which I've done in pink. So English then was the one left over in the middle section. Right, if you want to have a go at the challenge, you absolutely can do. It is about writing questions that can be answered most efficiently using a pie chart and most efficiently using a bar chart. So remember, a pie chart is very useful to show things that are half or a quarter of the whole, and a bar chart is better to show the difference between things. Lovely. Well done for today. That was a bit of a whistle-stop tour, an introduction to pie charts. See you tomorrow.